Winning ugly. Oh, that phrase popped up today for the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know who said it, but we'll talk about that. The Brewers, more importantly, got a win, okay? And they got the day off on Thursday. Look ahead to the White Sox. And Canha came through. All that coming up next here on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, it wasn't like the Brewers were playing some great baseball here in the last couple of days, but they did take 2 or 3 from the Colorado Rockies. And the Brewers earned that win on Wednesday, 7-6. Down 4-0 at one point, rallied to tie it, and won the game in extra innings on a couple of mistakes. Brewers made a mistake. The Rockies made a mistake, and the Brewers ended up winning. And the Brewers are still in first place. That's the bottom line. Still in first place heading into the off day on Thursday. Hi, everybody. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, every dayers out there, for hanging with us all season long here on the Locked On Podcast Network, downloading our podcast, making it the number one podcast on the internet, Locked On Brewers, the number one Brewers podcast on the internet, that is. We're rising up the ranks. Okay, we are rising up the ranks. Because you know what? You follow us every day. Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major platforms that you could download your podcast on. I list them all. And there's some that I've never even heard of before that download this. We are there. Yes, we are there for you. And we are there covering the Milwaukee Brewers every day, 30 minutes on Locked On Brewers. And, of course, you download us on the YouTube app. Go to YouTube on the app or go online and search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell there. It's going to alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here tonight for this episode, heading into the off day. Yeah, the Brewers took 2 or 3 from Colorado. And somebody asked Counsell, and Counsell's one of these guys, he doesn't mince words, and he doesn't want to play that game. Better yet, that's the best way to put it. He doesn't want to play that game. Somebody asked Counsell, was this an ugly win? Now, I think he probably gets that question 5, 6, 7 times a year. Okay. I've heard managers, I've heard coaches, I've heard everybody get this question asked them. And trust me, it's not a fun one to answer. These guys don't want to answer this question. And Counsell said, snap back. Okay. Because he wouldn't have it. Call it any way you want. And you know what? A win is a win. All right. As I said on the Locked On Brewers podcast short, I said earlier, yeah, I mean, winning is not easy. They don't hand you wins. They don't just say, okay, have this one. You got to go out and earn it. Brewers earned themselves. They got down 4-0. They put themselves back in the position. Adames, Monasterio, they put themselves in position. Okay. Canha made the error in the top half of the 10th inning to give the Rockies the lead. Then the Brewers come right back. Canha on a first pitch drills one to left center field like the veteran he should be. And I've seen with the Mets, that's the guy I saw with the Mets coming through with clutch hits, hard hit balls. Not so much this year, but in past years. I thought it was great. You know, Canha, who was 5 for 34, and I'm putting his headsets on. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm putting these headsets on because I'm just making sure we don't lose volume. We've been losing volume the last couple of days, and I've had to redo these. So, yeah, Canha came through after making the error in the top of the 10th inning, allowing the run to score. He made an error out in left field, played the ball poorly, and allowed the run to score. And so the Brewers came right back in the bottom of the 10th inning. Canha, first pitch of that runner on second base, a ringing double. Frelick as he's so good at doing, playing smart baseball. Now, he had a little dribbler back to the mound, almost beat it out, but got the runner to third. And then Monasterio hit a chopper to short. And the Rockies shortstop could not make the play. And he should have made the play, but he didn't make the play. He threw a one hopper to first base, and the play was not made over at first base. And that was the ball game right there. Boy, you could just tell that play, and Tovar, the shortstop, who is really good. Really good. I've seen him hit some towering home runs. But Taglia over at first base did not make the play. Should have scooped it out of the deck, out of the dirt. But Tovar gets the error. Taglia should have made the play at first base, and the Brewers win. I don't know. It just seemed like that play. So that ball was hit. It was like, oh boy, this is trouble. Game on the line here. Pressure's on. And the play was not made, and the Brewers win. So, yeah, Canha comes back, 5 for 34, delivers in his 35th at bat for the Brewers. Then after the game, and I don't know if this was the way it was in the locker room all afternoon, people going up to Willy Adames, Mark Canha, whomever, with a microphone, with a pad of paper. Was this an ugly win? God, I hate that. You know who termed the word ugly win? That was from the 1983 Chicago White Sox. They won the American League West back when they were in the American League West, and there was 2 divisions. And people would call it winning ugly. They were winning ugly. I just never could figure that out. Winning ugly. Oh, was that an ugly win? Well, you know, you get dirty, you make mistakes. There's ups and downs in every game, both teams. And you took advantage of the Rockies making a mistake. Yeah, winning ugly. No. You won a baseball game. You fought hard, down 4-0. Because honestly, when Hauser got down 4-0, I was really angry at that point, because thinking that this was going to be a long day at the office and that the Brewers were going to end up losing 5 of 6 to the Rockies this year. But they came back and won. Thank God. They came back and won. They got it done in the bottom half of the inning. Didn't look like it was going to happen. I'll be honest. I was not too fired up going into the bottom of the 10th inning. My theory, though, Bryce Wilson pitching the 10th. Now, again, Devin Williams pitched the top half of the 9th inning. And then in the 10th inning, you got Bryce Wilson out there with a runner at second base. Just the scenario I told you last night. That's not what I want. And it backfired against these guys. Let's save Williams to the 10th inning with that runner on second base, because the Brewers are never scoring in the bottom of the 9th inning anyway. And boy, these extra inning rules, I like them, but I don't, because it's just such an even playing field, because you work hard all game. And then in the 10th inning, you got to bring in somebody you're not preferred, Bryce Wilson. And I've seen this happen so many times. And then if you get deep into extra innings, 11, 12, you're using guys that you're like, huh? Because God forbid a reliever go 2 innings in a row. I would have liked to see Devin Williams come out for the 10th inning. I mean, I don't understand why, you can't break baseball rules. That I hope you get to the postseason. If they're in, the postseason, they don't play those rules. But in the postseason, if he comes in the top of the 9th inning like they do under the old rules, why not have Devin come back for the 10th inning? Let's win this game. Devin can't go another inning, but you're going to lay it on Bryce Wilson or J.C. Mejia to win you. And then you're hoping and praying that they're getting outs. Regular season, the guys on second base. Postseason, that ain't happening. But still, I would rather have Devin Williams pitch the 10th inning. I'll stand by what I said last night. But the Brewers do win. They're now 62-54. 62-54. Huge win. I'll say that. Huge win in that you didn't want to lose another series, because they've lost too many this year. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We'll talk about the White Sox coming up next. Hauser's performance, Adames back in the lineup, and the defense is starting to fail a little bit. That's coming up next. Locked On Brewers is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That is Gametime. So the Brewers will have the night off. They will start a series in Chicago coming up on Friday night, 7 o'clock to start. And you get it on Sirius XM or the XXM app. Search Brewers. You can get all 162 of Brewers baseball on the Sirius XFM, app or Sirius XM. If you got that in your car or wherever you got that, you're going to enjoy every Brewer game on Sirius XM. And the White Sox, the first of three of the White Sox on Friday night. Thank you, everybody, for listening each and every day on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you before we go forward here to all you guys. I see your tweets and your messages every day. I do. So the first things I do, see what you got to tweet about, see what you have to say, see what you didn't like or liked or didn't like what I said. But thank you for following me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Download us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major ones out there and even some minor ones as well. And of course, you can go to YouTube, download us on YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and you're going to get all of our episodes Monday through Friday here on Locked On Brewers. All right, we'll come back and talk more about this game, look ahead, and a happy birthday to a former coach who's up there in age, and he's still alive. We'll talk about that next here, along with, again, more on that Brewer game next and where the Brewers stand on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight or this morning on Locked On Brewers, brought to you by Gametime. Just telling you about Gametime and how good it is. Gametime app, flash deals, last minute tickets. Looking for some last minute tickets for REO Speedwagon or some concert that you want to see, maybe at the fair or a concert coming to town. Stevie Nicks was just in Milwaukee, sold out Fiserv Forum. Well, Gametime is a place to go. Flash deals, last minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets from any kind of event. Concerts, sporting events, theater, ball games is what I use it for. Ball games. And yes, sitting behind the dugout the other day, there was for Sunday's game against Pittsburgh, $33 just off the dugout. 3 tickets available. Wow. I might go on there and check, see what's out, see if there's some tickets that are better value than the ones I got currently holding. It's all on Gametime. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals right up to the day of the event. Those flash deals, download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your purchase, your first one. If you use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB with that purchase, terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. Download the Gametime app, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, the Brewers defense, which has been among the best in baseball, failing, it seems like, as of late. You know, there's been errors made by, there was an error made last week by Carlos Santana at first base. Well, today, Terang had one eat him up. Took a bad hop. Canha's out in left field. There's been some bad throws made, relay throws made. Brewers making some mistakes. Defense is just a little, just something I noticed today. Defense is just slipping a little bit because it's been pristine for most of the season, pitching and defense, but the defense has fallen off a little bit. But, Adames was back in the lineup and he homered to tie the game. And Craig said after the game, Counsell said, he's been struggling. I'm pulling for him. You hate to see a guy struggle. He hates to struggle, but he feels good about himself after sitting down for 2 days. And Adames said he's never been sat like that before, but he was sat for 2 days. And I don't know if that's I don't always believe in that. to think that's going to turn you around. You know, the think that he's refreshed and ready to go after sitting for 2 days, and now he's going to go. And of course, if he's got a big series against the White Sox this weekend, he will ask him, boy, did that 2 days off, did that help you out? He homered today. He walked his first at bat. And yeah, he contributed to the win. Monasterio, you can't take the guy out of the lineup. Who would have thought you'd be saying that? Came through there in the 10th inning. Homered again, second day in a row. All this time, like earlier in the year, I say, man, I don't know if Monasterio is a major leaguer, but I don't know if he's an Monasterio's not an everyday heart of the order guy on a pennant winning team. He could be a part of the team, utility, move him around. Okay. But do you want to see him in the lineup every day? I mean, on this team, he's got to. But on a pennant contending team, Monasterio is not batting in the heart of the order of our first place team. He's there because of necessity. No question about that. Adrian Hauser, 5 innings, started off strong, ran into problems there in the 4th inning. You know, ran into problems, but he had, that first inning, 8-pitch inning. But okay, he's going to cruise here. This is the good, there's the good Adrian, there's a bad Adrian. Bad Adrian showed up at the 4th inning, but still, he went 5 innings as a 5th starter, 4 runs over 5 innings. Not great. I mean, if this is Corbin Burns, it'd been a bad start. Woody, bad start. But for Hauser, I'll take 5 innings, 4 runs. That's where we are with him. Erratic. Some days are diamonds. Some days are stones with him. So, but again, the offense have got to bail these guys out once in a while, and they did today, which is something they haven't done a heck of a lot. When the pitcher is at an off day, Hauser gives up the 4 runs, and the Brewers came right back, but a 3 spot in the bottom of the 4th inning. That has not happened much. Usually when the Brewers get down 4-0, they're tucking their head and calling it a day. Let's be honest. But it wasn't that the case today at all. All right. We'll get to the White Sox coming up next. Playing the White Sox. Down at Comiskey Park, we'll say. I always call it, like I said the other day, I still call it Comiskey. Because why not? I don't want to call it the corporate name. It's changed a few times since it's been Comiskey. Comiskey name is never going to change. To me, Comiskey Park. Brewers and White Sox. That's next here on Locked On Brewers. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on Locked On Brewers. Brewers and White Sox coming up on Friday night, 7 o'clock. That broadcast, SiriusXM, the SXM app. Search Brewers. You're going to get every Brewer broadcast, not only this weekend, but every broadcast during the season of every major league team. It's a great app. It's a great service to have in your car, getting out of games. I'm telling you, putting on West Coast games on SiriusXM, it is an awesome, awesome thing. And proud to have them along with us. All right, the White Sox. The Brewers will see Kopish and Cease, their 2 best pitchers. They'll see Kopish on Friday, Cease on Sunday. The White Sox, 46 and 69. Weren't they supposed to get 10 like last year? And then La Russa drove them right in the ground, made a managerial change, and I feel like they've gotten worse. And, of course, they traded guys. They do have Jimenez yet, who's their 4th place hitter. But they did make a couple of trades and got weaker. So going in there is not going to be easy, of course, that's for sure. But the Brewers, how about this for a 3-game series? Look at the way this lines up. Burns, Woody, and Peralta. Burns Friday, Woody Saturday, Woodruff that is, and Peralta Sunday. Man, does that smell at least 2 or 3 for the White Sox? If they get any ounce of hitting. But Burns, Woody, and Peralta. I looked at that on my game notes today, and I said, wow, that looks beautiful. Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. The way Peralta's pitching, you know what Woody and Burns can do. How about stacking those 3 up? Those 3 in a wild card series or a divisional series. All right, here's my team. Face Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, and my bullpen. And we'll see how things match up. Yeah, White Sox not having a very good year, but as we always say, do not take anybody lightly. Happy 87th birthday to Frank Howard. the former Brewers hitting coach, base coach. Remember back in the 70s and 80s, some of you old schoolers out there, Frank Howard used to take the fungo bat and hit pop-ups to the catcher. It was amazing. He'd hit it as high as the stadium. Guy would be in his 50s and just jacking them. He'd be hitting fly balls to the outfield. He's 6'7". His nickname, the Capital Punisher, because he played for the Senators, Washington Senators. 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds. He was ahead of his time. Home run champ one of his years. He might have been the home run champ twice in his career. But he was the Brewers base coach and hitting coach. But, man, he could fungo a ball high up in the air to a catcher, stand right at home plate, and just lift that ball straight up. I don't know how he did it. It was magical. It was beauty, and it was a thing to see. Happy 87th, Frank Howard. I would have to imagine he's probably the last living coach of those Brewer teams of the 80s. I'm sorry, the 70s. Yeah. I would venture to guess that most of the coaches, all the managers who managed those Brewer teams in the 70s have passed away. Buck Rogers, who managed in 80 and 81, I want to say. Was he here? I think it was Bamberger still in 79, 80 and 81. He's still alive, but Frank Howard still alive. Way to go, 87. The Reds have dropped 8 of 9. That's a good thing. Going into our broadcast on Wednesday night, Reds are starting to slip a little bit. We can't update the standings because there's some games still going on in the National League. Kevon Looney threw out the first pitch today, and I haven't seen Counsell happier before a game than I did today. Kevon Looney threw out the first pitch, looked good in his number 5 jersey. You know, he had that Golden State Brewers gave him a 5 Looney shirt. He was signing autographs. Everybody was in a good mood. But Counsell was taking pictures with Kevon Looney. Man, I don't know if Counsell's a secret Golden State fan or what, but man, he was taking pictures, signing autographs for him. He was in a great mood. I haven't seen a smile on Counsell's face like that in a long, long time. Certainly he didn't have a smile on his face when that media member asked him if the Brewers won ugly today. Didn't see that. Didn't need to say that. Didn't need to happen. Winning ugly. Please, let's not hear that term ever again to anybody who said that today in the media. That is a dumb phrase because winning ugly doesn't exist. They're all ugly. They're all difficult. They're all tough to win. Yes, the Brewers took advantage of an error today. Who cares? They lost on an error last week in Washington when Monasterio threw that ball away. And Santana had that error at first base. So in the bottom of the 9th inning, they blew a 2-1 lead. So those things come around. You just hope you're on the, Bo Ryan used to say, the left side of the ledger more times than the right side. And that's going to do it for the broadcast. Hey, the Brewers and White Sox, 7 o'clock on Friday night, Sirius XM or the Sirius XM app. Search Brewers. You're going to get all of the Brewer broadcasts right there on Sirius XM. My name is Chuck Freeman. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a good night, everybody.